Right, good morning. Welcome to the Committee on Environment and Energy. This morning, we're going to take up S-112 as passed by the Senate with the proposal of amendment from this committee to include the Renewable Energy Standard Working Group. And we have the latest draft, which is 2.1 from our Legislative Council. Welcome back, Ellen.
Good morning. Ellen Sikowski, Office of Legislative Counsel. Draft 2.1 is the committee amendment to S-112. It's dated 5/3 at 6:18 p.m. The changes from yesterday's draft are in yellow. Do you want me to read through the whole thing or just the changes?
I think just the changes.
Okay. So a few of these changes are just grammatical. So on page 1, the first change, the working group shall be made up of one representative from each of the following. Just sort of reads better. And then additionally on page 2, added to the list of representatives, groups that can have a representative on this working group are Global Foundries and Associated Industries of Vermont. In the next sentence on page 2, Stowe Electric and Hyde Park Electric may each name a representative to the working group if they choose, and for readability. Farther down on page 2 in the list of duties for the working group, number 3, recommending cost-effective procurement policies to increase new renewable energy storage and flexible load management to offset increasing in-state load, improve grid stability and resiliency, and that factor in integrated resource planning electric load growth projections.
Integrated into that factor into integrated resource planning electric load. No,
because that's happening outside, so they want it considered.
Okay,
I believe is. I don't know if the integrated resource plan is what they do every 3 years.
well,
It does read weird,
into
but
yeah, makes sense.
because I don't think we don't.
You're in integrated. Okay.
Is Andrea still here?
Well, I could leave and you could have so still on 3 though, yesterday you discussed different phrases, but I think you landed on flexible load management.
Yeah,
So I did want to confirm. Yeah, okay.
Actually, I think this was Amber's. Actually, I think it was Amber's suggestion. Sorry, I said
that's
Andrea.
okay. We can hear both of you maybe.
But I think it was Amber's, the integrated resource planning that we have in here. So we're just trying to see if it is framed correctly, that it will factor in integrated resource planning. And the question is, should it say into integrated resource planning?
Take into consideration the integrated research plans,
Yeah, so into would work and read better.
the data that's into what you're proposing.
So we're just saying, and flexible load management to,
You're in the right section.
yeah, but improve grid stability and resiliency, and that factor into integrated resource planning electric.
I'm not sure that, because it sounds like the committee is supposed to consider the integrated resource plan. So maybe that whole sentence could be framed.
It's not clear to me, and perhaps to all of us. Yes, Andrea.
Edric of Vermont Electric Cooperative. We have all this kind of information and assessment as part of our integrated resource plan. So if the committee just wanted to, reference those or bring that information into their process, that would probably be very helpful. We don't need to create that information that already exists.
Yeah.
Would it be better to say and consider as opposed to factor?
Yes, it would be better. And consider integrated resource planning. Consider works.
Consider works.
Great. So striking factor in thing to consider.
So the next change is on line 20. Number 6 in the duties. So evaluating the impact, and there's a typo here, it should be the impact of recommended legislative changes to procurement programs. Evaluating the impact recommended. Sorry. Evaluating the impact of recommended legislative changes to procure. Oh, see, this is.
There's no of evaluating
No, I did, yes, I know.
recommended legislative changes.
The impact recommended, no, so maybe it doesn't need the of. So evaluating the impact recommended legislative changes to procurement programs will have on Vermont jobs and Vermont's economy. So no of is needed. Okay, sorry. I did try to restructure that sentence a little bit last night to be more clear, but I was only probably a little bit successful. Then there's new language on page 3, still in the list of duties for the working group. These were the changes Representative Logan requested. So the committee shall report on the following: how current programs impact environmental justice households with low income and households with moderate income, and how a revised renewable energy standard can ensure that benefits and burdens are distributed equitably. I think that might need to be ensure. And number 8, how changes to the renewable energy standard will address the inequity of distribution of benefits of renewables between single-family homes and rental properties.
Representative Sackovitz.
Line 2, should it be households with low income?
Yes.
Like me to wait. I've got some questions. Want to wait till the end? We're done this?
No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I've got a concern, and probably the majority won't agree with me, but that's okay. The working group, the legislative working group, 2 members of the House appointed by the Speaker. The Speaker can appoint anyone she likes, or he likes, whoever at the time, whatever. I would like to see members of the House appointed from both sides of the aisle here. I think it's important to get perspective from everyone. And maybe 3 members of the House should be included. The working group, I don't see anyone here in the fossil fuel business. And I think that they probably should have something to say about renewable energy. Am I right or wrong? I think there's too many in the working group anyway. Nobody's going to be able to make a decision.
Offered three things to think about, so at least. Thoughts?
So this working group will be looking specifically at our existing renewable energy standard, which is a performance standard that obligates our electric utilities. And so I don't know that the fossil fuel industry makes sense here. And I think they will be perhaps busy this summer. And I hear you on the 3 members. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people.
Other thoughts, Representative Pat?
No, I agree that this bill specifically is dealing with the renewable requirements on electric utilities and where, how much and where they get them from and what vintage they are and all of those kind of definition. But it is a regulatory obligation.
Did you have some?
Question.
Yeah, Representative Clifford.
On this, thank you, Madam Chair. On this same, the same working group list, does, look, you know, everyone here looks to me like they're all Vermont companies. My question is, why is the Sierra Club on there unless they have a local chapter? I don't know.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Vermont chapter. Yeah.
Thank you.
Representative Smith, do you have another?
Yeah. It just seems to me this working group, if and when once established, certainly has the power to set up the exclusion of fossil fuel companies, fuel burning people, oil selling people, and they won't have anything to say about it. So this group can muscle the fossil fuel people right out of Vermont, which is the intention of the climate package. So I have a concern about that.
Representative Sevilla.
So the renewable energy standard, and hopefully I can get through this without needing to be corrected, but we have experts in the room, was passed in 2015. And that is a performance standard that obligates our electric utilities. And it requires them to clean up our electric by reducing our fossil fuel usage, which they've done. But it's existing. So that has been in place since 2015. So now it's 20, I can't even do math anymore. It's 7 or 8 years. And they have done tremendous amounts of work in that and actually have significantly reduced fossil fuel usage in there. The parties to that performance standard, which include especially our utilities who are charged with keeping the lights on, and also their industry partners that install renewable energy, and also environmental advocates who want to make sure everyone is doing the right thing by the environment and keeping the lights on and installing renewables, feel like it's time to open up the existing renewable energy standard and look at the requirements that are in there. So I don't think that this is doing anything to the fossil fuel industry. That I think it's already happened. This is looking at the existing requirements and do we need to change them?
I will very respectfully disagree with you, but thank you for your input, Representative.
Okay. Representative Torrey.
Thank you. On line 6 and 7, I'm wondering,
What page?
page 3. The inequity of distribution of benefits of renewables between single-family homes and rental properties. I wonder if it's also between single-family homes and multi-unit properties. So I'm just trying to get at, I think there's two things. There's the owner occupied renter. There's also the single family multi-unit inequities. So the way this is phrased.
Representative Logan.
Thank you. Just to add on to that question, because I am just uncertain of the answer. Manufactured housing, mobile homes. Where does that fit into this distinction?
So I will add on, because I've had an expert help me remember that tier 3 obligates our utilities to reduce thermal fossil fuel usage. And so that's, I would expect where in terms of letterization of projects. So
Is that an answer to Representative?
That's different.
About manufactured homes.
Whether they should be added in the
Eight.
considerations, number 8.
So I want to just, if I might, just remind everyone that this language does two things. It sets up a legislative working group with the stakeholders to draft legislation that is unrestrained. So they can actually take up all of the things. And that will be a public group that people can come to. And it will be mediated and facilitated. We will have professional mediation and facilitation services. It will also bring back a report. And we've specified some things in the report. And it is also meeting only 8 times. So
That's good, because there's 8 things on the list. Representative Sakowitz.
Isn't this this paragraph here really about, it's about the inequity in the distribution of the benefits of renewables. And my understanding is this is more about economic classes of folks who are benefiting from renewables. So it seems like it's not so much tied to what kind of home you live in as more as it is how much money you have.
Yes. Representative Logan.
Thanks. Item 7 gets a difference in income. Item 8 does get at the differences between different kinds of residential structures and how we get renewable energy to those structures, because there are differences. Net metering, for example, is a challenge with multi-unit properties and multi-unit rental properties. I'd also say there's, a class of, I'm curious about the status of a mobile home. Does it count as a single family home?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'd say my own housing situation falls in between as well. We're not a rental property. We're not a single family home. We're a non-equity multi-unit cooperative. And it's very hard to put solar on our property.
Representative Sibilia.
is there a phrasing will address the inequity, a distribution of benefits of renewables between different types of homes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or residential properties.
That's good.
Of residential properties, okay?
Representative Pat.
Just an additional note, again, reiterating the fact that this is focused on regulated electric utilities. In the renewable energy standard, yes, there are provisions that may affect different types of households. Different net metering is one of them, and tier 3 is another in which utilities have an obligation to help people move off of fuels for heat. But most of the renewable energy we're talking about here is the actual utility energy supply, which goes to everybody equally. And so I just want to remind that a very significant part of this, maybe in terms of total amount of energy, the most significant part is continuing to move utilities to change the renewable mix in their own energy supply that they either through their own generation or through power purchase contracts.
I think that's an important reminder. Some of these bullets are going to be covered under previous ones. Yeah. Representative Sibilia.
I just want to check in with you, Madam Chair. It's my understanding that this bill, if it's to move, if the committee wants to move it,
Yes, this
has to move this morning
has to move within the next
We have to-
15 minutes.
and it has to be edited. Okay,
So,
so maybe.
I don't think it can be edited.
yeah,
Wow.
it's going to be
The change.
I gotta go make a couple changes, but
So a good reminder of time constraints that we are under right now. Keep going through the changes, that will be helpful.
So on line 9, I corrected the name of my office. So then down on line 14, the sentence is improved for readability. So the Joint Fiscal Office may issue a request for proposal for one or more independent third parties to provide facilitation and mediation services to the working group and data analysis recommendations at the direction of legislative members. The Department of Public Service shall be invited to advise the working group on the results of the ongoing public process to review the renewable energy standard and other items as needed. On page 4, the number of meetings has been increased from 6 to 8. The cross-reference was corrected on line 8, and then there's an appropriation added at the very end. So in fiscal year 2024, the amount of $75,000 in general funds is appropriated to the Joint Fiscal Office for the consultants and the per diems.
Representative Sibilia.
Madam Chair, I erred in compiling all of the stakeholders' agreements and missed one, which is on page 2, line 7. After the word requirements, to say comma, or other energy policies. And so that sentence would say, whether any changes to Vermont's existing renewable energy requirements, comma, or other energy policies, comma, are needed to increase grid stability, resiliency, modernization. This is big balance in that stakeholder, so I hope we could add that in.
Or other energy policy.
Yes, policies.
Okay. You have any questions about these changes?
No, the group is now up to 20 members, though.
Yep.
It is. Thank you. And I would like to, actually, I think it's important that we look at the changes. So I want to liberate Ellen to go make them, and we can continue. You have an editorial,
Yes.
specific edit request?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to know why we need 7 electric companies in the working group when we could reduce it to 2 or 3 electric companies.
I can answer that. Our electric companies are very different, and we have a diversity of them, and there's a big range among them. They have different perspectives on this topic.
Do they all have the same goal?
Not necessarily. I mean, they have different perspectives. They
Okay.
have the same goal of meeting our renewable energy goals, but they have different approaches to it.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Thanks. We're going to take a break and let Ellen go.